Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, I wanted to continue part two of the ongoing war taking place between the Russian Federation and Ukraine, this day 97 of the ongoing conflict. Now, what I wanted to have a look at is kind of the southwestern area of operations, and I've started the video obviously within the area near Kherson and Mykolaiv. And we know that recently Ukrainian forces have launched a limited offensive operation against Russian forces located in this area near Andrikov. And I think I just completely messed that up, but generally speaking, it's in this area of locale. And the forces involved in that limited offensive were anywhere from 3 to 4 battalions of the 80th Air Mobile Brigade, supported by both territorial and nationalist forces that are deployed within this area of operation. Now, much like the Russian river crossing that took place in the far eastern area of operation that ultimately turned out very poorly for Russian forces, the Ukrainians are experiencing relatively the same issue in this ongoing conflict. Now, you have to understand that this terrain out here in the kind of the southwest quadrant of the conflict is very much open and sparse with vast areas of farmland and not a lot of foliage. There is foliage, obviously, that separates some of the large farms and such that exist in towns, but by and large, it's very, very open terrain, ideal for both tank and mechanized warfare, and the deployment and use of tactical air assets, meaning Russian helicopter gunships and Su-25 Frogfoot fighter bombers or strike aircraft. And unfortunately for the Ukrainians, during this offensive operation, the Russians deployed a lot of heavy artillery, and they also deployed significant amounts of tactical air assets to blunt that Ukrainian offensive operation in this locale. And we have heard reports that, unfortunately for the Ukrainians, they did suffer rather significant casualties in this very, very limited offensive operation that took place to the northeast of Kherson. So that is kind of what is occurring, especially in the area near Kherson and Mykolaiv. Obviously, you can see here the Ukrainians have fairly significant forces in this area. So the prospect of a renewed Russian push in there right now in this area is very, very remote. We understand that the Russians continue to fortify their areas near Kherson, and they do not look to be positioning additional forces for operations that would take place in the direction of Mykolaiv and then quite possibly Odessa. Very large terrain features with a lot of Ukrainian forces in this area that would make it very, very difficult for the Russians to launch said large-scale operations, further large-scale operations. If we look at the map here and just the forces that are being reported, obviously you have a very large grouping of forces to include the 406th Artillery Battalion, the 123rd Territorial Brigade, the 124th Territorial Brigade. You have a host of naval infantry units. These are high-end, more or less elite forces within the Ukrainian military. The 36th and the 137th, more or less operating as a brigade-sized formation. The 28th Mechanized Brigade, 14th Mechanized Brigade, and then the unit that just launched some of its operations against Russian forces, 80th Air Mobile, in conjunction with 60th Motorized Rifle and 21st Security Brigade. So, extending along this, along the western. The western side of the Dnieper River, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, roughly anywhere from 8 to 10 Ukrainian brigades that are operating in a fairly tight area in terms of force deployments for this conflict. And the Russians just right now do not have the assets to launch an offensive operation in this area. So we're continuing to see the Russians fortify and continue to prop up their forces in this area because they don't want to lose any more territory, while at the same time it doesn't look like they want to advance as well. Now, to the east of here, now this becomes a much different equation in terms of what the Russians are trying to do, and what I'm going to do is switch the map over where you can kind of see what we're seeing here. And this is the area of operations near Zaporizhia. And right now, I believe that we could see a very large Russian operation at some point take place to the east of Zaporizhia, with the possibility of Russian forces cutting off the Zaporizhia to Marinka highway. And that's a highway that runs from east to west, or west to east, however you want to look at it. And the Ukrainian force disposition consists of the 59th Motorized Rifle Brigade, supporting elements of the 45th Artillery Brigade, 63rd Mechanized Infantry Brigade, and 53rd Mechanized Infantry Brigade. So within this area, you have much less force construct of the Ukrainians than we did towards Kherson. So where we were seeing anywhere from 7 to 8 Ukrainian brigades, in this area we see roughly 3, with some supporting elements as well. The Ukrainians do have rather significant defensive positions set up in this area of operations. There's about 3 to 4 lines of defense right now. So if you look here, near Orinkiv, then you have another layer, followed by another layer. Then obviously you have the fighting that could take place in Zaporizhia itself. But what I believe could possibly happen is a buildup of Russian forces to the west, southwest of Zaporizhia, and a move to eventually Now, this is going to happen, or this could happen, after that Russian pressure continues to build in terms of the current Russian strategy of destroying and degrading Ukrainian forces with the use of heavy artillery and fixed air assets, tactical air assets, that are continuing to occur in this and other areas of operation, that we could see at some point the pressure just becoming too great for some of these frontline Ukrainian units, and that in tandem with a major offensive push by Russian forces that may be preparing for such of operation, we could find the Ukrainians losing territory rather quickly. And especially if we do see a large-scale Russian force build up, and we do see kind of the terrain in this area is ideal for Russian maneuver forces if and when they choose to launch said operation. This area right here, and especially if we were to see a Russian breakthrough that severs the Zaporizhia to Marinka highway, and then a pivot towards Zaporizhia to eventually cut off Zaporizhia from outside support and encircle the city, and then again start to push along to the north along the Dnieper River. And this right here, the major river that cuts Ukraine physically in half. And we have talked about before how ultimately the Russian goal could be to take all territory east of the Dnieper River. I think anything less than that, in terms of Russian war games or war aims and war goals, anything less then the seizure of that territory east of the Dnieper River would probably, the Russians would probably walk away very, very unhappy with this campaign, and they still may walk away with a very, very bitter taste in their mouth from this campaign. Obviously, because this is a very, very tough war that the Russians have entered into, as have the Ukrainians. It's very, very intense conflict, but the Russians right now are looking to continue to prosecute its war effort in order to achieve certain war aims and war goals. Obviously, the timeline has been extended for Russian forces, but obviously that would have to have been in a form of a contingency plan for Russian forces as they launched this operation. There has to be no doubt that the possibility that the current state of affairs could have been anticipated by Russian forces. But as we see this pressure campaign continuing to build by Russian forces, I do believe that we will at some point, if the Russians are continuing to be successful in the eastern area of operations and are eventually able to push Ukrainian forces back from Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, and obviously, but first they would have to, meaning the Russians would have to seize Lysychansk as well. But post those operations, I think we will see a very much larger Russian operation at some point take place closer to the Dnieper River in terms of additional Russian war aims and goals. So just wanted to have a look at kind of what we're seeing right now within the confines of this conflict, maybe near, especially near Kherson, as we had just gone over, and now what is occurring and kind of the force buildup that we have seen by Russian forces in this area, and the continued deployment of Ukrainian forces as well in this area of operation. But again, thanks for joining us, and we'll obviously have more very, very soon. Have a good day.